Do you remember the Sears and Roebuck kit houses? Back in the 1920s, you could actually order an entire house and a kit of parts would be delivered by a railroad car to your job site so the builder would assemble all of it. Well, I've got a modern day version of it for you in today's video. We're visiting the BMC Ready Frame Factory, where instead of ordering a house from a kit, you can custom design your house, your architect can design it, and then these guys can actually build the entire house at the factory so the builder can actually assemble it on the job site. Not just roof trusses or floor trusses, but walls too. Let's join the AIA crane tour and we're gonna see how they actually do that here at the factory. All right, so we're at the BMC factory here in Austin. We're actually doing an AIA crane tour. And so we've got about 75 architects and builders hanging out, getting ready for the tour. I think this is gonna be really interesting to see how they actually build these wall packs. And believe it or not, everything was stacked up there. That's probably an entire house worth of framing that's gonna go out. So let's see how they pre-cut it and what this factory looks like. Come join me. Okay, so this huge plant, huge amount of automation, a ton of lumber thrown through here. This originally was a truss factory, but now they've converted to doing ready frame walls. Let me walk you through the basic process as we're learning on this tour right here. All the lumber is stacked outside and then it comes in through this section right here. Check out these crazy saws, the bolt cutter right here. And then these machines over here, a bunch of cool MyTech machines. This is what's doing the initial cutting and sorting of the lumber. And then we move on to the rest of the factory where the cool stuff happens. So come join me over here. Okay, so this machine that we just visited over here is cutting all these smaller pieces. They're all labeled and marked, and then these outlines that you see here, this is where truss gussets are gonna go. So this is actually part of a roof truss assembly right here. But this machine's making multiple cuts on one pass. So look at this, it's got the angle, it's got the bird's mouth, everything's on here. And then this is the outline for where that gusset is gonna come on. Next up, we've got the bigger machine here. So this one's running the bigger pieces. This is gonna be cool. Okay, so we're at a truss assembly area here. Check this out, this giant assembly table, bigger than one I've ever seen before, is controlled by that screen up there. That screen is showing the truss and how it's gonna get manufactured. And see these little metal pins that stick up? The computer's actually controlling where those stick up so that these guys use that basically as a template for all the pre-cut studs that we just saw. So they're bringing those out, and then they've got the gusset plates. And remember we showed the printed outline of those gusset plates. Now these guys just have to tack it on, assemble it together. They're gonna slide one underneath as well, so there's a gusset on the top and the bottom. They tack all those on, and then that giant roller there, the Ram Easy Rider, is basically a giant hydraulic press that's gonna roll from one side of the table to the other. That's gonna do the final pressing of all those nail plates, those gang plates, and then that truss is complete. When it's done, there's some rollers that stand this thing up, slide it off into the other one, then it's gonna go out the door there where it'll get loaded on the truck. What a cool process. Never seen this done before. Interesting mix between the computer telling these guys exactly what it needs to do, but also some muscle involved. In fact, these guys are basically framers, but they're working with the computer to build that truss to perfect tolerances. Very impressive. All right, so now we're in the ready frame wall assembly. We looked at the truss section, and this is really similar. We've got all those pre-cut studs. Check out the stack right here. So these are all bottom plates, and the bottom plates are pre-printed, so when he pulls these off the stack over here, he knows exactly what they are. And just like your framer would mark off with a line and an X, he's got the same thing. He's got a 2x4 right in the X. It's a 92 and 5/8. These are all the bottom plates, and then he's over here assembling them. And check this out, even while they're assembling these, I like to see this. He's got foam already pre-cut too, so he can do an insulated header on this. And then he frames it just like my framers do, except he's here in the factory. He's got the computer over there that's telling him which parts and pieces. Everything's stacked in the correct puzzle order, so as he's pulling it off, it's stacked already in the right order, and then here's how the walls come together. All right, so now the wall plates are finished. You can see here they've stacked these up. So interesting how they do this. Very different than the way we'd frame out on the job site. But in the end, look, we've got all those green bottom plates. That's probably the whole first floor for a small house. It's gonna get rolled out here, put on the back of a roll-off truck, and we'll take it right to the job site. All right, we're in the last corner of the plant. It's interesting as you look beyond, the building's not huge. I don't know what the square footage here is, maybe 15,000 square feet or so, but a lot happens under these, under this one roof. You know, we started it back here and we showed all the lumber coming in and all the really interesting cutting machines. And then first we saw the roof trusses and how those are built. I've used those for a long, long time. But then seeing the wall framing, interesting how they do that. And in the previous video, we talked about how they could actually send a pre-cut package out so your framers could assemble it on site. But here they're actually assembling those wall packs. No sheathing on these, they get sheathed on the job. I'm assuming that's to make everything lighter. The framers can stand everything up. And then the last assembly area, which is this one right here with all the smaller blocks, this is where the floor trusses get made. I've seen these used in various parts of the country, but I'm surprised floor trusses are not more common. For instance, when I was visiting the Northeast, I hardly saw any floor trusses. I guess that's because they've got basements there to run all their mechanicals. But here in Texas, where we're slab on grade, floor trusses are fantastic. I love floor trusses. So that's some floor trusses over here you're seeing. And the assembly for those, real similar to the truss assembly for the roofs. Very interesting plant tour today, guys. For more information, I'll put a link below on the BMC Ready Frame package, and also a link to the 1 or 2 other videos I made, because I made a video from the BMC show a year ago about a house, and then I also made a video at my builder friend Mesger Holmes' job site that was a ready framed house. Very interesting. I'm curious to see whether this is going to take off either locally or nationally. With our labor crisis in our market and very few new and skilled framers coming on, I think this really is the future. So stay tuned for some possible future videos on BMC Ready Frame. Otherwise, we'll see you next time on The Build Show.